Hey everyone, TheGamingChief here. Today I'm going to be doing a video on getting started with CFTools ControlPanel, and I'll be doing a little bit of tour of all the different settings and things that you can change and kind of set up in there. In this video I will be going over what CFTools ControlPanel is, how to acquire a CFTools ControlPanel instance/service, and I'll be doing a quick guide on setting up your new instance, and finally a quick tour on all the options inside of ControlPanel. There are timestamps for everything on screen right now as well. So what is CFTools ControlPanel? So first off, we need to talk a bit about what ControlPanel from CFTools is. ControlPanel is essentially just a control panel service that allows you to manage your DayZ server. It gives you a bunch of tools that are useful for administrators and integrates nicely with the Omega Manager program as well. By the way, if you're looking for more information on Omega Manager, I highly recommend you check out my overview/review on Omega Manager. It covers a lot of the basic features and explains why I ended up moving over to Omega Manager. A link to that video is in the video description and on the top right hand of your screen right now. To acquire a ControlPanel instance/service, you will need to log into the CFTools network website. The link is on screen and in the video description. So right now I'm on the actual very home page of cftools.de. You can go ahead and hit sign in here, or you can also go to network.cftools.de. It goes to the exact same place. And then CFTools does use Steam OpenID for authentication, so we'll be redirected to sign into our Steam accounts. So we'll go ahead and hit sign in through Steam. And this is a normal OpenID sign-in, so this is actually through Steam. So we'll go ahead and sign in with our account. And then I will need to use my two-factor code. And then that'll go ahead and get me logged in through Steam. Because I have my CFTools account already set up with two-factor, I will need to create a two-factor code. So I'm going to just go ahead and scan this over here, and so I can get logged in. If you don't have an account, you won't have this quite yet, or it's kind of optional to set up. And now that we're signed in, we got dropped into the account page. For when you're first creating your account, there may be a few more steps. I might ask you a few questions. It's been a little while, so I don't quite remember exactly how it works. But once you have that all done, you should be getting dropped into the account page. As you can see, this is my CFTools account here, contact email, and then two-step verification, which is why we need to enter that second code when I logged in. By default, this is disabled. However, I do recommend you do enable it if you use two-factor on any accounts, as it helps protect your account as well. And we're going to go ahead and click on Omega over here. And that's going to go ahead and load this. This pop-up will only show up for me and anyone else who already has an instance, because I already have one. We'll close out of that. And then what we're looking for over here is Omega for the free one. It gives you the two band lists and all that fun stuff. And then you may or may not see this message right here saying that they have reached the maximum capacity for the service, and to create a ticket in the support center to get notified when you claim your Omega instance. So essentially, when I created my account, and as far as I know as of right now, it is still at capacity, so you do have to create a ticket and get added to a wait list. The wait list for me wasn't very long at all, and I'll actually put it on screen exactly how long it was. It wasn't too long at all. And then I was able to get in and get a free instance. So I'll show you how to do that real fast. You would just go over to the support center, and then you would create a new ticket. And then this should be under general. We'll write a subject. So I'm just going to say, for the subject line, we can put Omega waitlist, and then you can write something out real fast. So I quickly wrote something out, just, saying, hello to the team, blah, 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 asking them to add me to the waitlist for the free ControlPanel instance. And then you got to go ahead and let them know that you are okay with being emailed. And this is just privacy laws, GDPR, all that stuff. You have to directly let them know that, yes, you are okay with being emailed. And then you could go ahead and submit the ticket. And then it would go ahead and go through, and they would add you to the list, and then you would get an email once that's done. Alrighty, and then after a little bit, you should eventually get an email saying that the Omega waitlist status has been updated, and then it'll go ahead and say that a slot is ready for you, and then it will go ahead and give you a code that you can go ahead and send a ticket in to go ahead and get that instance added. So if I look back here, and I can actually look at my closed tickets here, and then I can go and find this one. And as you can see here, I went ahead and submitted that, and then once it was in support hours, I went ahead and got that added to me. You can also donate to CFTools on their Discord server, which is also linked in the video description, to get a higher priority for an instance on the waitlist. Just as a note, this is not instant access. If you do donate for higher priority, you still need to create a ticket from my understanding, and then it just gets you a little higher on the list versus the people who are in the waitlist for free. So it's totally up to you. I believe it's 10 euros is the required amount or above in order for that to happen. Alrighty, let's go ahead and say that you got your stuff added to your account, you have a server slot. So how do you access it? So there's a couple different ways. If you're on the network website, you can go to My Services. And as you can see, I actually have two here. This is the first one that was created a few months ago when I was first testing it out. And this one's another one that Philip went ahead and created for me so I can demonstrate in this video. And you can actually set up nicknames and stuff like that here. For now, we won't set up a nickname, and we'll go ahead and open in Control Panel. And now we're on the Control Panel website, so instead this is cp.cftools.de, so this is where all the Control Panel stuff lives. And you can see I already have our test instance up there from the ones I was doing beforehand, but this is our brand new one that hasn't been activated or anything like that. And it does drop us on a overview here, so it gives you like your service ID, your API key, make sure you don't show that to anyone, and a few other things. But the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and get this connected to our current server. So we're going to go ahead and click on Configuration. And we'll get rid of that prompt. So it's going to ask for your server IP address, your game port, and then your Archon port. Typically your Archon port is going to be the same as your game port. So by default that is 2302, which is what we'll be using as that's what my test server's on. So I'll go ahead and update that as well. And then we need the server IP, and I can just remote in here. And this is a server that we've been using. I'm going to go ahead and, if I could spell real fast, go and grab the current public IP address of that one. Plug it in there, and then what we need next is our Archon password for the server. So we'll go back into here, we'll close out of that, and then we're going to go ahead and need to dig into our files to find it. So in this case, this is server 0 is the one we're adding, the video series one. So if I open up Atom here, I have my DayZ directory already set up here. I'm going to go to 0 I'm going to go to servers, and then as you can see I had those expanded already, but it's going to be server 0, and then we're going to go into profiles, and then we're looking for BattleEye, and then you should see a file called beserver_x64, and that's either going to be .cfg or _active if it's currently in use. So we'll open that up, and here's the Archon password that was generated at some point. So we'll go ahead and copy this, minimize back out, paste that in, and what we'll go ahead and do is we'll test our Archon connection one time real fast. And as you can see, that was successful, so we can go ahead and save this configuration as well. And you want to make sure that your game port and Archon port are correct, and if you're behind any firewall or anything like that, make sure those are port forwarded or open to the internet depending on how your networking setup is. And now that's done, we can go ahead and see that this is green, so it looks like it had no problem making a connection. We're going to go ahead and reload this page real fast. And now that we reloaded it, we can see the name actually got switched over as well. So I can't like fully move this to the side, but you can see that's server number 1, which is our video series 1. So we can go ahead and go back to the dashboard, and we can go ahead and get going with everything. For a quick tour, we are now on the dashboard. This is where any players will show up, and there'll be a screenshot right now for whenever I join the server, just like a little test thing, kind of showing what it looks like when you have players listed here. You also have a live feed of any messages and stuff like that. You can also send a message in chat. So it should send that. And then we can go ahead and click on server here, and it gives us some little information like Archon latency. Sometimes this kind of depends. It doesn't need to be super low latency, but it's not the same as your server latency usually, it just depends. And it'll show you your game time, your Archon traffic, like, you know, what you're doing speed wise. This doesn't really matter for the most part. You shouldn't have, you shouldn't really need to be looking at this troubleshooting wise. It does give you an option for an immediate shutdown. That's will go ahead and immediately shut down your server. You can go and do a planned shutdown, which will give a little bit of warning and then trigger a shutdown. You can go ahead and lock the server, or you can kick all players. So if I lock it here, this will take a second, and now no one else can join until I unlock it or the server's restarted. So we'll unlock that. And you can also kick all players, and then you can enter a kick reason. We can hit test, and that would kick all the players on the server. There's also the Archon console. You probably won't need to touch that. And then we can go over to the map here. So this does require the CFTools DayZ plugin, which we'll cover in a little bit of a different video. And we'll do a separate video on how to get this all set up for your server, because it does require that you run a server-side mod for that to work. And now that we've kind of gone over everything in the dashboard, we can go over to the server tab again. Oh, if I could click it, there we go. And this is going to give some basic information, so where your server is based. So this is the service for this control panel instance, the players, the server version, your map, game time, all some basic information. We'll also tell you player pool, whitelist entries, how many people are banned in the ban list, all sorts of different things. Tell you that VAC is enabled along with BattleEye, and it gives you some uptime measurements, and then it might list some mods here. Sometimes it doesn't quite go through. And again, you have your service ID and your service API key, and you can actually plug those in. If we go back over here, we go to Omega Manager, and we can go ahead and go on to our overview of this. And then once we go to Omega Instance Configuration, we can go down to the bottom here, and we can actually specify a service ID. So we can copy and paste this over. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And then we'll copy over our key, get that pasted in, and then we can report system health, and we can also do sync priority queue list. We're not really using that with our current settings, but it's a thing there. So we can go up to the top again, save changes, and we'll go back to our dashboard here. And I believe we do have to do a restart for this to take effect, so I'm going to do that right now. And I'll go ahead and restart that up. And then as it's launching, you can see now this does have a check mark for the CFTools API, so it means it can interact over here. And we can see this says it's not running, so this will take just a moment because the server's still booting back up. And another thing about the service is you can suspend the worker, so if you're not using the API key or something like that, you can't suspend that and it won't be usable. So we can go ahead and skip over to the next tab, which is server metrics. This just gives you some things like population over the last 24 hours, 30-day, and then top player countries. Currently this has no data in it because I haven't actually joined the test server in a while, so we don't have anything on that, and since we just created this, this brand new control panel instance. Then we have whitelist actions, so you can clear the whitelist. You can also import from a file. We won't be doing that for now. And then you can also wipe all player stats that's being kept in the control panel. And then also this is where you can do webhooks and activate and stuff like that. That's a lot more advanced. There might be something like integrating Discord or something like that later on, but outside the scope of this video. So we're basically done with the server tab. We can jump over to configurations. And then this is where we set up, our basic IP, port, password, and all that. So we know that's all good. So we can jump over to general settings. So we can go ahead and set a time zone so everything's kind of localized to what we're doing. This is the time zone I'm going to be using. You can also use ban lists. So these are publicly listed ban lists from CFTools and other communities and stuff like that. So you can list a few different ban lists. Say if you know a certain community bans a lot of cheaters or something like that. So yeah, so you can add other people's ban lists. You can also add your own ban list. I'll show you how to make one of those in just a few minutes here, but this is how you can add different ban lists. And then there's some other config stuff real fast. So like if the server's locked, kick them for connection denied, server is locked. Same thing if they're permanently banned, you are banned, and then reason. So we'll list out the reason. And then if it's a temporary ban, it can say, banned until whenever it expires, and then list the reason. And these are just all, variables, so we'll list whatever it actually pulls. You have the ping limit module, which I do like to keep enabled, and I do typically have it send warnings to players. You can also have it ignore whitelisted players, so say if there's only a few whitelisted players and it's someone, you really don't want to be kicking, then you can do that. And we can, 250 is fine, and the default messages I think is perfectly fine as well here. And then we do have the reserved slots module, so we can enable that and then set some aside for admins and stuff like that. And then there are two different modes. There's base and then there's aggressive one. You can press help here and it tells you a bit more about it. But your base one just kind of keeps one open, and then the other one will kick people, stuff like that. So for an actual description, it's in here as well and tells you a bit about the other stuff. And then you can select a kick reason. So if the slot's in use by an admin, And then someone tries to join a reserved slot, they'll get that one. And this one's if an admin's trying to join, they need a slot. And we'll just turn that off and set it back to 0 because I don't plan on using that. And because we changed other settings here, we'll go ahead and save that. And then now let's say if we'll jump over to server security. And there's some Steam things here, so we can go ahead and turn this on so it'll do the other things. We can kick private profiles if we would like, and it tells them that it has to be public. Optional up to you, of course. We can kick new Steam accounts if it's, less than a week old, they can't play on it. And then it tells them exactly why they can't do it. And then it can kick fact ban players, and then players with fact bans are not allowed. You can also specify a period, so we can say 365, so if it is longer than a year, it'll let them in. So you can change the text accordingly, stuff like that. Again, you got some help stuff for some different articles, so that's mainly on VPN protection. You can enable that. Kick players with a VPN. You can ignore whitelisted players, which may be good if, they have to play on a VPN for a certain reason. And then that's the reason they'll get kicked. And then you can do geo-blocking, so we can enable that. And then we can go ahead and select certain countries. So say if you have a problem with people from China cheating or something like that, just a country I picked, then it will go ahead and kick them. And then you can also invert it, so only the selected countries. So if we do that, so we can select the United States, and then if this is inverted, it means only people whose IP is detected as being from the United States would be able to join. And then we can just go ahead and turn this off. I don't plan on using this. And then you have IP blacklist. You can go ahead and activate this module and then blacklist certain IP addresses. So say if you have someone connecting from a certain range or something like that that is causing issues. For example, say someone's using a VPN, and let me just enter something example. This is in like the local area, so this won't actually be a real public facing IP address, but just as an example. So say we have someone who has, a 10.20.30.105 or 105 is their IP address. You ban them and they keep coming back, 205, 205, 305, something like that. So they're kind of in that range. You can actually ban an entire range here, and that's where you use the asterisk key for wildcards. So if anyone's IP address falls into 10.20.30. whatever, anything past that, it will get matched and they'll get an IP blocked kick message. Be careful with this because I have seen people go a little too far. So say you can do this, multiple octets, so you can jump back another one. However, once you start blocking the second one here, you're going to start blocking a lot of IP addresses. And I've seen one person actually block the third one before, and you're going to be blocking millions at that point. You're going to be blocking a lot of different people. So you want to try to avoid that. And we'll turn that off because we have no IPs to blacklist. And then we have other security features. We can go and check that it's on. And then we can just enforce, player names being alphanumeric. So, no special characters or anything like that. And I'll actually leave that one on so we can hit save. And then we can jump over to messages and warnings. So this is just some basic stuff. So unknown command warning. So if someone tries to use a command that doesn't exist, then that will go ahead and pop up. And if someone tries to use a command that they aren't allowed to use, say if there's permissions assigned to it, it will do that. And then if someone does the help command, it will just list out all the available commands. And these ones are relating to the scheduler, so this will let people know, server's restarting in how many minutes, let them know it's restarting now. And then when they get kicked, it'll say the reason for the kick, which will be server restart. You can also open up message placeholders here, and this gives you a ton of different placeholders that you can use here. So that anything with the percent and then a name and then a percent, it just kind of indicates it's some sort of placeholder. So you can see all the different placeholders that you can use, throughout the control panel. And then there's also help. This one doesn't give you a whole lot of information because there's not a whole lot here. We can save here. And the next module we'll be going over is the whitelist. So you can do whitelisting and stuff like that. So we can go ahead and enable it. And if they're not on the whitelist, it will kick them. And then if their entry is expired or they're removed from the whitelist while they're on the server, you'll get kicked for that message. And then you can do a master whitelist based off of your instance. So I have 2 instances, so that's why I see 2 options here. This one we are on 601 is the one we're using. So this is my other test server. This one's the other one. So 601. And then you can use Hive, and of course we have some help thing that kind of explains how Hive works as well. And we can go ahead, and I'm just going to just select this because I don't want it to be whitelisted. And then here's the messenger module. You can go ahead and turn this on. You can set up a new message, and this can kind of trigger if this wants to go to everyone. And this triggers how many seconds in between each time it sends. So this is every 1 minute. And then how long it takes for them before it happens. And then a message change me. And you can use all the different placeholders. This can be stuff like listing your server IP, all that different things, time zones, max players, current players, stuff like that. So you can set up like a reoccurring thing that says, there's this many players on the server or whatever. So really this is just limited by creativity and whatever you want to do here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And, I didn't click on it. There we go. And again, there's kind of the help thing here. It tells you a little bit about it, not a whole lot. And I'll turn that off because we have no messages. We'll save that again. And then we have the announcer thing, so we can enable the module. Whenever someone joins, it'll say, this person, welcome, so, welcome. And this is displayed to the player when they join. Then you can have player announcements, so say this person joined, it'll say that. This person left, it'll say that. People will be able to see it because it's an announcement. And then you can also do this for admins leaving, or you can change this to staff, or, whatever you want. This is all editable, up to you. And again, you have all these placeholders you can use here as well. So we'll go ahead and save that. And then we have the scheduler. I'm going to briefly go over this. I'm going to have like a more in-depth video later on. But essentially, this is how you can go ahead and schedule different jobs. So let's see here. So you can send global messages, message all players, unlock and lock the server based off of the time, suspend a whitelist, reactivate the whitelist, stuff like that. So for example, we can go ahead and do reactivate whitelist. And then you can set this for certain times. You can do relative execution time, so since server restart. So say, for an example, you want it to be immediately after a server restart. And then we'll just do daily, we want that to always happen. So this will immediately turn on the whitelist when someone joins. And then say you want people who are whitelisted to be able to join first after that, and then a few minutes later people can join after, or something like that. Then we can suspend the whitelist. And again, we'll say this is like 10 minutes in or something like that. So theoretically, I haven't fully tested this, I'm sure this should work. So you should have it be able to be whitelisted for the first 10 minutes of your restart or something like that. You can also say if you want to lock it or stuff like that. Unlock your server, send global messages, so you can set reoccurring global messages. And then there's the main one that I'm sure everyone's going to be using is the restart server, daily. And then you can do this either at a set time, or we can set this to, say 360, so every 6 hours or something like that. And then this is in minutes, how often this is going to happen, or your warnings. It will kick all players before it, and it will also go ahead and lock it. You can enable or disable this, and you would just create this task a few more times. Say if you decided not to do this way, so if we turn this off and we're like 6 a.m., create another for 12 a.m., stuff like that, it's totally up to you. But if you use relative time, then you would only need one of these. And we can add that. And then I'm going to go ahead and actually deactivate these and remove them. And then we'll go ahead and save. There's also a help page, which doesn't have a whole lot of information on this one, but it's there. And we can jump over to in-game commands. So by default, there's the help command, and you can actually create all sorts of different ones. So we can, say to a player a predefined message, say to the entire server, stuff like that. We can kick all players. We can lock the server. We can unlock the server. We can shut down the server. And some examples of this I've seen, you can do save players. So these are private messages, so people won't see it. So like something like, !! players. And then you can do placeholders, and you can see, there is, this many players out of, and then whatever your max players variable is. Oh, if I can type that right. And then we can go ahead and get that added. And there's all sorts of different things you can do with this as well, but that's just an example. It's just something you can kind of play around with, learn exactly how it works. And then we have alerts here as well. So, say if there's, downtime, it can go ahead and send you an email. It can also send you Discord notifications as well if you have that enabled. So if you have it all set up, we'll do Discord setting up a bit later because of the way that all works. And then we have the DayZ game specific features, so we can enable that. We can kick anyone named Survivor, so that can be really helpful. If someone's named Survivor, we can kick them, and then a reason to change that. We can also do kill feed. This does require the CFTools DayZ plugin. So again, I was talking about that, it's going to be its own video, but if you wanted to enable that and you had it installed, it would go ahead and show that as well. And then finally, there's the Discord integration. Again, going to be a whole separate different video on Discord integration because there's a lot of different things you can do there. And then we can go ahead and skip this. I don't need to save anything. And then this will go ahead and show any players, stuff like that. You can see admins, you can see bans, you can see whitelists, priority slots, all that fun stuff. And then we can pull up logs, so this will show server logs. I don't have anything in here right now. And then we have audit trail, so this shows if you have different things going on, tells you who did it and stuff like that. And then Archon information. So this shows all the different Archon logs. You can see this is where that shutdown was requested, stuff like that. And then I can go and actually look at my profile here. So this is what happens if you look someone up. We can actually look someone up in just a moment here. And then so it just gives some information, third-party stuff, first seen, all these different things. You'll find that when you search someone up, you can pull up their Steam profile as well if they are not a private account. You can do player insights. You can get their Steam ID, Battle IG, ID, Bohemia UID, all that fun stuff is all listed. You can get a banned overview, so if they were banned on a server that has a public ban list, then you'll go ahead and see that stuff here. And then these are going to be your options for your instances. So our instance that we're using today is 601, and this is where you can go ahead and manage player permissions. So this is how you can actually give someone else, so say you have like a co-owner or something like that, you can give them all different permissions here to do different stuff inside your control panel. And then I am the owner here, so I can't actually change any of these for myself. You can also create a whitelist entry. So you can say, it's a temporary whitelist for this player for, 7 days. It will expire then. You can add a comment here. So, something like, give an entry until that date, create that. And then now you'll see that they are whitelisted. So if your whitelist is enabled, it will show up. You can also do the priority queue, so you can go ahead and add them in here as one of the priority queue slots that we were looking at earlier. This can be permanent, just like admin. By default, I believe control panel admins who have full access like that already are considered in the priority queue for an admin slot. But if for someone else, you can do that, and we can revoke these as well. You can also add notes on people as well, so type whatever out, you can save that. And then it'll just keep a note on someone. So let's go ahead and look someone up. We can do player lookup here, and as it says, you can do Steam ID, Battle IG UID, Bohemia Interactive UID, in-game name. So for example, let's pull up Philip. And this might take a second because this is searching through a lot of players. And then I'm just going to go ahead and open this in a new tab. And this will load, and as you can see, CFTools staff here. And then it just shows you some potential alternate accounts. These don't mean they're 100% an alternate account. It just means it's possible. This can be based off of different information, name, all that fun stuff. It also gives some aliases, so if they've used other names, it lets you know about that. Their playtime, last played, all the same things. So kind of all the different things here like we were looking at beforehand. And then there's also ban lists. Philip has a test ban list that he is banned on. So any public ban lists will show up here. And then again, this is where I could manage permissions. So if I manage it, you can actually see I can toggle all permissions. So Philip would be able to do all that stuff, but we'll close out of that. Same thing with whitelist, priority queue, all that fun stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at ban lists real fast. So we're going to go ahead and create a test ban list. It's just, so this is the name of it, just so it's not randomly generated. We'll save that. Can do API access, however that's a bit beyond the scope of this video, so we won't really be covering that. And then there used to be the option to make this discoverable, so it would immediately show up for anyone to add your ban list to other bans. So it would give the option for other people to add your ban list to their servers as well. However, now there are some new requirements, stuff like this right here. So it has to be a code of contact. There's an entire thing here about that. And then it just has, must be at least 2 servers, actively maintained, 100 entries and all that. This doesn't stop you from having your own ban list for your own servers, but this is to make it public for other people to use it. We can wipe the ban list and delete it, but we won't do that for now. And then you have authorized users, stuff like that. So if I go back over here, because this is now saved, and then now that I have that ban list created, I can actually go back over to Philip's profile. And then next to ban overview, you have ban management now. So we can, go ahead and say ban him for 1 day. It's a temporary ban or a permanent ban. And then we can do, 1 day, ban reason. So we can do that. And then you can issue a ban. And then again, that's not going to show up here because our ban list isn't a public facing one, but it does show that he's currently banned. And then there's like ban evidence, stuff like that, reason. So we can go ahead and also see those ban list permissions. We can manage that. And then this would allow them to go ahead and access it or make adjustments, revoke bans, all that stuff. So you can give other people access to your ban lists. And then this is all for our test ban list right here. If I had another one, I believe it would show up right below that. And then if we jump back over here to our dashboard, go back to configuration, and then we can go over to general settings, and then we can see ban lists. And as we can see, the test ban list is here. So that means that this will go ahead and utilize that ban list now. So anyone on that, including Philip, who has the 1 day temp ban that we created, would not be able to join the server. So we'll go ahead and save that so that shows up. And I think that about covers it. It is likely I may have forgot something, or there could have been an error or something like that. So always be sure to check the video description and the pinned comment for any corrections, as they will always be down there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on the video or join my Discord server, which is always in the video description as well. Joining my Discord server does allow you to DM me, or you can also post in the support channel, which myself or others can try to help you resolve your issues that you may be having. And that's about it. If you have any other video suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below as well. Other than that, have a good one.